I will be ready when I get my microphone. It's okay. Leave it, don't touch it. Good morning, folks, over there at the YouTube. Let's get the... Oh, I have to go through this again. It's the merry dance of opening up the audacity. Audacity, audacity, audacity. Microphone program or Freemason chant. Now, let's see what's going on. Should be picking up now. Here we go, finally. This is the continued reading of the document that can be found at Veterans Today. The USA, of course, selling all of their nukes for a lot of years to the likes of Israel, not only Israel, but Israel chiefly. That's the terrorist state. It's a bit like, what's that syndrome that small men get, or, you know, small man becomes the bulldog. It's like a chip on their shoulder.
Yeah.
Plus, they've got all of their... bottom line is, it's where the devil is infesting mankind. Them and all of their supporters, including the churches of the West. I won't go into that, I just left a comment slamming World Truth
What about an
TV.
update on your... what you've been doing and what you should want everyone else to do at the same time?
Yes. All right. I've had great success tweeting. Seems the world has been reduced to having the attention span of a gnat. They can handle a tweet of 140 characters or less with a link. So I went through the list that I posted at Facebook. There are 1,000 Twitter addresses there. These are the most popular in all the world. You can even go down country by country. That's what I was starting to do last night after I pretty well covered the 1,000 most popular Twitter sites. Bottom line is, since I started doing that, the read counts on the Apostolic letter, the Benedict signed Apostolic letter, has gone up 808 to this morning in 2 days since I started. I did it again last night and the night before, so it's really 2 nights. And the count was on 7,000 exactly before I started, the night before last, spending a couple of hours just going through, writing out. What I said last night was that Christ is back in Australia. Pope Benedict XVI arrested April 2013 by Francis for announcing Christ, and then the link to the letter. So that was a copy-paste to people like Simon Cowell, or popular people with the high millions. Bottom line is, I was watching the read count go up every half hour. So pretty much everybody that I sent the tweet to, they read it. So I'm going to focus now on breaking it down country by country, beginning of course with Australia, but you can do the same. A short one-liner. You could even post as well. I'm going to go back and start posting Chuka's upload that he has made with the Shroud of Turin and Yah. A really simple one-liner. Getting the name out there, getting it in people's psyches, you know what that is like. So things are intensifying. I'll say it again, don't ask Yah about timing on anything, not any one of you. What we are watching happening in the world is intense, extremely, and it makes us absolutely sick. The judgment is occurring, and it's all about the ones who are in control, who could stop anything going on at the drop of a hat. And of course, we know that they won't.
Well, they've allowed psychopaths to run the world.
Yes, yeah. So, you know...
How do you explain what a psychopath is?
Well, psychopath is...
Well, this is actually... David Icke is right in one sense. He is talking about reptilians. Now, it's not a reptilian shapeshifter. What it is the brain is made up of a reptilian
and a mammalian.
Covered by a mammalian. And the reptilian dominates. The mammalian gives you all the emotions of love and tenderness and forgiveness and passion and And a snake doesn't.
Mm.
A reptile doesn't.
That's right.
Huh?
So these people don't have the capacity for compassion, as you know. So as much as it is making you sick to your stomach, I know it does me, and I have too. Yah has explained often enough, and for those of you who don't know, it's the angel that takes the place of the soul in the body. So it really is there for the world who can do something about it, because there are people that can do things about it, and yet they are refusing to, or have their own deluded notions at what they should and should not be doing. So this is the time of the patience of the saints. Stop asking Yah when.
I will not answer any question.
No, Yah will not answer any of the
The reason
questions.
is this. Pamela, she will ring constantly. She'll ring me 20 times a day.
Yeah, she was
I
in
can't
that
get
habit of
nothing
doing
done.
that, yes.
I said, and she ended up blaming me for her boyfriend, which I told her to get rid of 5 years ago.
Mm.
So I said, that's it. I don't want to talk to you ever again.
Yes.
She rang again.
Yes.
And she rang again. And she
3
rang
times again in there. So we have unplugged the phone because of Pamela. Yah will not answer anybody's questions. It's
Tell you
like,
why though. If you ask a question, the question is something I don't want to talk about anyhow. So if I don't answer, that is an answer. If I do answer, that's an answer. So you can go by the negative that I don't want to talk about it, by any question in particular. So I won't answer any question. So don't ask. Pamela is an expert at asking questions I don't want to talk about. I want to avoid it. I don't want to tip off the enemy. So if I refuse to answer a very important question, I'm tipping off the enemy. So Pamela, shut the fuck up.
all right. Let's move along with this. I started on the other. Plutonium-based warheads have a chemical fingerprint. I covered this in yesterday's reading. Have a chemical fingerprint that can identify the type of design and where the plutonium was made and how old it is. This was the 9/11 blackmail on Bush 1 and 2, the illegal transfer of surplus nuclear weapons to the Israelis, and why the continued cover-up, along with the stolen gold and stock fraud that was going on with Wall Street. Only a 2-kiloton device was needed to drop the buildings. A 2-kiloton device will produce a fireball of approximately 150 to 200 feet in diameter over 4,000 degrees centigrade, just large enough to melt the I-beams of the central core of the building and drop them in place. The light flash would last less than 1 second and primarily be in the UV light range. Overpressure would only be at 60 psi max and directed upwards with the blast. And, alright, fallout would be minimal and located to within ground zero range only. Radiation would drop to acceptable levels within 72 hours after the blast. Most fallout was trapped in the cement dust, thus causing all of the recent cancer deaths we are now seeing in NYC among first responders. Melted steel and iron oxide, or nanothermite, is a byproduct of the very high gamma ray neutron flux induced into the central steel core. The radiation dissolves the steel into iron oxide, consuming the carbon and silicon in the steel. This explains the missing steel columns and the very important clue of the vaporized 20-ton antenna tower atop the south tower. The upward blast of radiation literally vaporized it, and video evidence proves this to be true, and they provide that. Okay, the total XX00 data file from DOA Sandia on the 9/11 event is well over 72 megabytes, and talks about Snowden. Missed that one. All right. Illegal distribution of US nuclear material to foreign allies was not limited to Israel. Virtually all NATO allies were in on this scam too. Dick Cheney was the bad guy on this one. Bush too and Cheney traded nuclear pits to foreign countries as IOUs in order to get what they wanted. Tom Countryman, a well-known Israeli operative, is curiously now in charge of the nuclear non-proliferation at the State Department under Obama. He was put there by Rahm Emanuel. It appears that the weapon of choice for the Israelis were the W-54 and follow-on series of nuclear pits taken from the Amarillo, Texas storage dump. This was what Carnaberry was working on for Bush Sr. in Houston. A total of over 350 pits were transferred to the Israelis over a 10 to 20 year period of time. The W-54 type of pit design were the most desirable due to the two-point implosion pit design. This is the easiest to remanufacture and modify as compared to other circular pits. So the USA supplied, this is just me talking, the Samson option, which of course is their brag that they have nuclear warheads in every country around the world, 200 of them.
Well, they sold them all to all these countries. The Yanks did it.
Yeah, the Yanks have done it.
It's not the Israelis done it.
No. Yeah, it was the USA.
It's the USA who was controlled by the
Bush and
Israelis.
Cheney.
What amazes me is they use these nuclear weapons when the little men at the top that do all this, 25 cents will fix them.
It's called a bullet.
I didn't say that.
Now, the pill-shaped design of the W-54 type weapon contains over 1.5 times more plutonium than a standard pit. This would allow enough plutonium to be recovered that was still of weapons grade use even after 32 years plus of age. American build-up in the pit over time eventually makes the pit unusable as a weapon, so they have a limited shelf life based on how fast or slow the plutonium was produced in the reactor at Stanford. Usually it was about 150 days maximum. Irradiation time in the reactor during production determines the shelf life of the pit as weapons-grade material. All of the micro-nukes used by the Israelis are remanufactured W-54 type series devices. These devices were used in the Bali bombing and the London bombing, that was 777, and in Japan on their reactors. And the nuclear weapon used in Bali was confirmed. Now, you've heard Yah talk about what happened in Bali because he was told by his informant, if you like, at the time, who came to him, told him what was going on. He knew himself he was dying, and sure enough, wasn't very long after he spoke with Yah, he was dead. Also in Damascus, Iraq and Afghanistan by the US. Editor's note, multiple confirmation including these sites. These are stored in most Israelite embassies for ease of deployment. The ones used on 9/11 were kept at the Israeli consulate in New York City until put in place. After 9/11, the FBI now checks all diplomatic pouches with a Geiger counter before entering or leaving the US. The South African weapons were also surplus, W-54 artillery shells, acquired from Israeli, and final assembly and testing was done in South Africa with Israel assistance. This was done because the Israelis needed a testing ground in order to make sure that their rebuilt weapons would work as designed. The North Korean weapons are also of the 155mm artillery design as provided by Israel. The true North Korean nuclear weapons program is based on nuclear artillery use and not missiles. The plan is to use a massive artillery barrage on South Korea if war breaks out. This includes the use of small nuclear artillery shells to counter US tanks, rockets and artillery. The Saudis also have a stash of W-54s acquired from the US under Bush II. The Israelis have also provided them to India, Brazil, China, Taiwan, Japan, North and South Korea, etc. The editor's note is all but South Korea is confirmed. Canada had been believed to be the source of Brazilian nuclear weapons. Dimona is a standard 75 megawatt thermal open-top reactor as used in France for their plutonium weapons production program. It's their version of Stanford. Oh, actually the editor said he's saying probably Hanford. Due to overuse as a fast breeder reactor by the Israelis, Dimona suffered a steam explosion that is a flash over indecent due to neutron criticality back in the late 1980s under Bush I. This shut it down its operation for many years until repairs could be made. It now only operates at very low power levels due to neutron absorption damage to the containment vessel, now mainly used for isotope production. This forced the Israelis to turn to stolen nuclear stockpiles from the US for the continuation of their nuclear program. The Israelis, knowing that the nuclear material that they had acquired only had a limited shelf life left before it was no longer usable as weapons grade, then tried to dump it on the surplus market as fast as possible before it was of no use to them. So they dumped it on unsuspecting nations who would only sit on it and not be able to test it. These were the fissile tests in North Korea. Confirmed. When everybody caught on to the scam, such as Japan and Korea, that is the Korean sub-sinkings, etc., they were angry because they paid big bucks for junk. This started a mini Cold War with Israel and her old clients. However, with micro-nukes, even as the plutonium ages, it will still fissile, producing a smaller size detonation, well under 2 kiloton in size. So they can still be used as small dirty bombs or as very small tactical nukes, such as the nuclear artillery strikes on Damascus with rocket-assisted W-54s. On the W-54 pit design, it is pill-shaped and it is only about 4 inches in diameter and weighs about 24 pounds. Most of the fuel is consumed in the plasma fireball when detonated, so there is very little plutonium fallout left to escape. If it is salted with other materials, the fallout can be even reduced to lower levels, such as an enhanced radiation device or the so-called neutron bomb. This is what was used on 9/11. The primary purpose of the nuclear weapon used on 9/11 was to produce a massive gamma-ray neutron flux that would vaporize about 150 to 300 feet of 6-inch thick steel I-beams that constituted the central core of the World Trade Center buildings. This created
99 elevator frames.
99?
They had 99 elevators.
Yes.
And they were all steel frames, and all the building was hung off that.
Ah.
So when it vaporised,
yes,
anybody in the elevator would be vaporised.
Yes.
But that was the main frame of the skeleton. It's like ripping your spine out.
Yes. Central
And it
nervous,
just
yeah.
went straight down in
Yeah.
free fall.
Yeah.
That's what caused it.
Yeah.
So popping out of the windows, you see smoke coming out and dust coming out. That's because they're coming together and they're pushing like plates dropping on other plates.
Yeah.
Right? That's what happened.
Mm.
And guess who was the first man to put it up on the internet?
That's right.
The dust hadn't cleared and I had it up on the internet.
Yes. 16 pages of a likely scenario, blaming the hapless Muslims. All right.
Muslims don't have the sense
No.
to do anything.
No.
They've got to be the stupidest race of all time.
Okay, so this created a free fall event as seen on TV that day. The flash would be hidden from sight due to the underground detonation. Most of the light was in the non-visible light spectrum anyway. Overpressure would be reduced to 6 psi due to the blast travelling up the central core and neutron radiation vaporising the TV antenna at the top of the building as seen on the TV. The fallout would be mainly vaporised concrete, cement and iron oxide. This is why after 9/11 they told everyone on TV that the beta radiation burns that people were getting were due to the caustic cement dust and not due to the radiation effects from the radioactive cement fallout. The iron oxide found all over the place was what was left of the steel I-beams. This was the so-called nanothermite that was found everywhere. Fallout was limited to a 1-mile area around downtown New York City. Radiation decay was reduced to safe low levels after 72 hours, outside of Ground Zero itself. This is why the area was blocked off from the public for 3 days after the event, in order to let the radiation drop to safe levels. So that's the end of that particular document. There's a number of comments there. So Netanyahu was right when he said to Obama, people see the USA as the big Satan and Israel as the little Satan. Wow. Only relative to land mass, not the intent of its leaders. Now, let's see.
Now, look up the Protocols of Zion, number 14. I'll read that in its entirety.
Okay. Here we go. Protocol number 14.
Does it have the key word in it?
Yes, it does. We shall forbid Christ. It's just those 4 words. Here we go. Number 1.
It shows to show you how stupid they are.
When we come into our kingdom, it will be undesirable for us that there should exist any other religion than ours of the one God, with whom our destiny is bound up by our position as the chosen people.
Self-chosen people.
Yeah. And through whom our same destiny is united with the destinies of the world. We must therefore sweep away all other forms of belief. If this gives birth to the atheists whom we see today, it will not, being only a transitional stage, interfere with our views, but will serve as a warning for those generations which will hearken to our preaching of the religion of Moses. This is how we know the revelation.
Moses didn't exist.
Moses mentioned in the Revelation that's in the book that's deluding everybody.
New song.
It's the the new song of Moses. Anybody talking about the new song of Moses? It's all part of the Jew world order. The Essene revelation, there's no mention of Jews or Moses or anybody else, as you know. So it's a complete fabrication. All you... I could go on and on about Christians. They make us both very tired of their tiresome delusion. Our preaching of the religion of Moses, that by its stable and thoroughly elaborated system has brought all the peoples of the world into subjection to us. Do you hear that? I know I'm preaching to the choir. When I speak like this, I'm speaking to those who might be hearing this for the first time, or those who happen upon and can stand to stick around and hear the truth.
I should mention that I told everything in parables so they wouldn't understand.
Yes, exactly.
So I'm not trying to get recruits here. This is judgment. Let them stay as they are. Let them be the tares and the wheat.
Yes.
All standing the same. They all look alike, don't they?
They do. Well, they all grow up together, intermingled.
They all look alike.
Yes.
And the ones that are the tares are burned.
Gathered and burned. All right, therein we shall emphasize its mystical right, on which, as we shall say, all its educative power is based. Then at every possible opportunity we shall publish articles in which we shall make comparisons between our beneficent rule and those of past ages, the blessing of tranquility, though it be a tranquility forcibly brought about by centuries of agitation, will throw into higher relief the benefits to which we shall point. The errors of the goyim, that's us, governments, will be depicted by us in the most vivid hues. We shall implant such an abhorrence of them that the peoples will prefer tranquility in a state of serfdom to those rights of vaunted freedom which have tortured humanity and exhausted the very sources of human existence. Sources which have been exploited by a mob of rascally adventurers who know not what they do. Hello? Where have we heard those words before?
I don't know. Tell me.
Well, it's recorded in the book that has trapped everybody. Jesus on the cross, forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do. And as Yah has said,
Fuck them.
They have always known. They are not his words, and you can see now very clearly where they come from. The protocols of Zion. This is an ancient plan. The devil in these people is ancient, and they have crept in unawares and altered the script that has devoured everybody. Now, in capital letters, this goes on, useless changes of forms of government to which we instigated the goyim when we were undermining their state structures will have so wearied the peoples by that time that they will prefer to suffer anything under us rather than run the risk of enduring again all the agitations and miseries they have gone through. In brackets, this one says, this religion of Moses, the so-called oral Torah or Babylonian Talmud, is the antithesis of the prophets. So let's, now, here it comes. This is headlined before point number 2. We shall forbid Christ. That's all it says. Number 2, at the same time we shall not omit to emphasize the historical mistakes of the Goy governments, which have tormented humanity for so many centuries by their lack of understanding of everything that constitutes the true good of humanity in their case after fantastic schemes of social blessings, and have never noticed that these schemes kept on producing a worse and never a better state of the universal relations, which are the basis of human life. 3. The whole force of our principles and methods will lie in the fact that we shall present them and expound them as a splendid contrast to the dead and decomposed old order of things in social life. Number 4, our philosophers will discuss all the shortcomings of the various beliefs of the Goyim, but no one will ever bring under discussion our faith from its true point of view, since this will be fully learned by none save ours, who will never dare to betray its secrets. Number 5, in countries known as progressive and enlightened, we have created a senseless, filthy, abominable literature. For some time after our entrance to power, we shall continue to encourage its existence in order to provide a telling relief by contrast to the speeches, party program, which will be distributed from exalted quarters of ours. Our wise men, trained to become leaders of the Goyim, will compose speeches, projects, memoirs, articles, which will be used by us to influence the minds of the Goyim, directing them towards such understanding and forms of knowledge as have been determined by us. So that is protocol number 14. And so you can see that communism is the protocols of Zion.
Now, if you go to rens.com, general 86/Talmud.htm, there's some lovely quotes there of the Talmud. Very lovely people. I want to stress that. I'm looking forward to pressing the red button.
Okay, rens.com/general.
General,
okay.
86/Talmud. It's actually TALMD.
Yeah.
.htm.
Not found.
Go to rens.com.
It's alright. Yeah, I know why.
Here's a good one. Jehovah himself in heaven studies the Talmud standing. He has such respect for the book. This man is called R. Johan, said, a heathen who studies the Torah deserves death. For it is written, Moses commanded us a law for an inheritance. It is our inheritance, not theirs. Then why is it this not include the Noachian laws, or the Noahide laws? On the reading Morasha, an inheritance, in brackets, he steals it. On the reading Mophsarah, betrothed, he is guilty as one who violates a betrothed maiden, who is stoned, and objection is raised. Maya used to say, whence do we know that even a heathen who studies the Torah is a high priest? From that verse, ye shall therefore keep my statute and my... Sorry, go down a little bit. And my judgments, which if man do, he shall live in them. Priests, Levites, Israelites are not mentioned, but men. Hence, they mayest learn that even a heathen who studies the Torah is as a high priest. That refers to their own 7 laws. What the hell is that all about?
Well, that's what the Noahide laws are, the 7 laws.
That's right, and I was given a ticket to the Noahide laws in approximately 1977. No, sorry, 1997.
Yes.
And it was held by the Institute of Humanities. The name itself makes your stomach turn.
Yes.
That's the last thing that they're interested in, is humanity. and they actually talked with, on the podium were some of the most notoriety of men in the high courts and places of government. And what they were talking about, and they truly meant it. One of the speakers was the ex-Governor General of Australia who represents the Queen.
Yes.
Zygmunt Cohen, his name is, and his son was Rabbi Cohen, who was the man who was doing the speaking and introducing various dignitaries. And they were saying that when their kingdom comes, that if a Jew accuses a Gentile, a non-Jew, it is no trial, it is simply beheading. These men, these psychopaths were sitting up there actually saying this. Well, it wasn't long before question time, and I stuck my hand up, and what happened was a person had asked how the Noahide laws came about, and they said that Noah had given it to the Jews. So this lady, who was a Jewess, in question time put her hand up and she said, I don't understand how this came about. And the rabbi answered, and he said, well, it's very complex. It's, any more questions? And I stood up. Yes, because they thought I was a Jew. Having a Marshall is actually a name that they have taken as being Jewish. That's why some of these Hollywood producers, their name's Marshall, you might know. So I said, perhaps I can answer that question for you. And I started. I said, well, if you look at Noah, the time of Noah, it is another 2,000 years before you get Jacob, and then Jacob's sons become, the fifth son was Judah, and that is where the tribe of Judah, the royal tribe, exists, and out of that the name of Jew came into existence, and this is what today the Jews call themselves because of that slang name concerning people that were supposedly in the past Jews when they weren't not. So I said, therefore it's impossible for Noah to have handed the Jews to Noah, the Lord.
They weren't in existence.
They did not exist for another 2,000 years. So that's what it's all about. So then coffee time was called. Hello. So I walk out and I would have been surrounded by 100 Jews asking me questions. And one question was concerning when I'm going to do seminars, because I was the only man to ever tell the truth. So here's the innocent Jew that's hungry for the truth, but they are horrified with the name Jesus. And one fellow said to me, I don't believe in the virgin birth. So I basically said, well, have you any children?
Yeah.
And he said, yes, 3. And I said, well, did you have your eyes closed at the time when I was conceived? He said, yes. I said, well, how did you not know it could have been a conception by the neighbour down the street? Right? So he sort of gave me a funny look. And I said, if you can conceive a child, you don't think God can? So therefore, God cannot have a father. That is what the whole virgin birth was all about. Well, they were insisting I tell them when I'm going to do seminars for the Jews. And I just said, not at this time. Now we're doing the seminars for the Jews, right? Over the radio. Right. So as I've said to Jews, you better stop being a Jew right now. Very serious about it. Okay, you've got your Noahide laws there, or the Talmud there?
Yes, yeah, the same as you. Just continue.
Oh,
this is a good one. When the Messiah comes, every Jew will have 2,800 slaves. Hello, Messiah is here. The only slaves that you will be experiencing. How would you describe hell?
You're in it. But
yes,
there's a worse one.
But there's a worse one.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And that's where you will be the slave to your lusts, amplified, whatever you have imagined, whatever you have allowed.
There was one Jewish fellow that did go and have a near-death experience.
Yes.
He went to hell and he came back and he was crying like a good baby.
That's right.
This is what's going to happen to us Jews.
Yes.
Right? Well, he's quite right. This is what it is.
Okay.
Okay. Now, it says here in Sanhedrin 58b, in other words, if a non-Jew kills a Jew, the non-Jew can be killed. Punching an Israelite is akin to assaulting God, but killing a non-Jew is like not assaulting God. I mean, the phraseology they use is so pathetic that the way they say it, you can't actually follow it.
Here we go. The Zohar set 177b, that the Jewish nation is the only nation selected by God, while all the remaining ones are contemptible and hateful, that all property of other nations belongs to the Jewish nation, which consequently is entitled to seize upon it without any scruples. An Orthodox Jew is not bound to observe principles of morality towards people of other tribes. He may act contrary to morality if profitable to himself or to Jews in general.
Now, this is you finished?
Oh, just a Jew may rob a girl. I want you to think about mortgages. A Jew may rob a goy. He may cheat him over a bill which should not be perceived by him. Otherwise, the name of God would become dishonoured.
Now, in Sanhedrin 57:8, it's similar to that. It's a translation here. It says, a Jew may rob a goy, but a goy may not rob a Jew. If a goy murders another goy or a Jew, he should be killed, but a Jew will not incur the death penalty for killing a non-Jew. Kill the goyim by any means possible. Then it goes on to Chashen Hem Mihat 425:50. Everyone who sheds the blood of the impious non-Jews is acceptable to God as he who offers the sacrifice to God. Extermination of the Christian is a necessary sacrifice.
Now, here...
Even the best of the goyim should be killed.
Have we already uploaded the PowerPoint? I think it's already up there, where you've pulled to pieces the verse, the woman at the well, the Samaritan, and the conversation. That's already up on the tube, isn't it?
I forget.
Yes, I think so. I'm pretty sure it is. So, just to...
Here's a good one. What is the meaning of Mount Sinai? The mountain whereon there descended hostility, that's called, and got in brackets, sinha, towards idolaters, non-Jews. That's what the Mount Sinai bullshit was all about. Right?
Yes. Yeah. Now, Tosefta Aboda Zara 8:5. Has it not been taught, quoting, with respect to robbery, if one stole or robbed or seized a beautiful woman or committed similar offences, if these were perpetrated by one Cuthian or Samaritan equals Goy / Gentile / heathen / non-Jew. Now, going back to the verse that you were highlighting in the PowerPoint, where it's the Samaritan woman supposed to be talking to you, Jesus, talking about the water. How she was trying to understand what you were saying to her. But first of all, her first question is, why are you, because she identified Jesus as the Jew, which was a lie, and in the verse he didn't correct her, with me, a Samaritan, because Jews had no dealings with the Samaritans, the Samaritan people, because they were regarded as Goy or Gentile. So, and then in the same verse, where Christians are so deceived, she goes on to identify Jacob as our father, being the owner of the well. The well was named after Jacob, our father. So here, by their own writing, they have written it all in. The Samaritan was regarded as the Goy, Gentile, heathen, non-Jew against another. So the verse itself, they have trapped themselves.
Well, they always do because they're stupid.
Yes. And they've trapped the Christian reader.
Now, here's a good one. This is for your daughter. A Jew may do to a non-Jewess what he can do. He may treat her as a piece of meat. A Jew may violate but not marry a non-Jewish girl. Now, the Jewish girl can be 3 years of age.
Yes.
Right? The boy has to be 9 apparently in one of these Zohars here. A boy goy, oh here it is, after 9 years and 1 day old, and a girl after 3 years and 1 day old are considered filthy. So you can do to them what you want.
Yes. Now tell your story, because you were in the USA when you went. Where did you get your copy of the Talmud, the verses that drew your attention?
I was travelling down through the United States looking at the UFO bullshit sites, and I think it was in Omaha, and there was a large, what do you call them, synagogue?
Yes.
But with grounds, and they had other things there. I think there was also retirement for Jewish people and a restaurant and this kind of thing. So I went into the library there, and I introduced myself, Shalom, and said that I was travelling from Australia, and I want to look something up in the Talmud. And the lady asked me what did I want to look up. So I had picked out something simple because I thought I could get my hands on the Talmud and I could get into it, right? Because you are actually allowed to be set alone, you know. So she said, I'll have to ask the rabbi. So the rabbi sent back word that I could look at that particular page.
Mm-hmm.
So she then went and made a photocopy of the page.
Yes.
And the page that come back was the wrong page, wasn't it?
Yes.
And on it was all these abominations. That's where I got all the information on it. It started to open my eyes up. I've always been repulsed by Jews.
Yes.
Because this is what the memory of it is, the Mishnah out of Babylon.
Yeah.
There's the Babylonian and Galilean Talmuds.
Mm.
And it was what I was remembering, and I thought, well, I've got to get it in English and nail it.
Mm.
And also did.
Mm.
That's what it was all about. So it can't read stuff like this.
Right. All right, well, we had better end it here. We've got, Joel's got some editing to do.
What time are we up to?
47. We should have stopped a while ago.
All right.
Because there's half an hour that he's got to tack onto this at the front. All right, guys, later Gator. This will be part of tomorrow's show as well.
Maiden, coming here, a maiden aged 3 years and a day may be acquired in marriage by coital intercourse, and if her deceased husband's brother cohabits with her, that's okay, she becomes his. The penalty of adultery may be incurred through her if a nida, she defiles him who has connection with her, so that he in turn defiles that upon which he lies, as a garment which has lain upon a person afflicted with gonorrhea.
Insanity.
Work that out.
Totally. Insanity. All right. We've stopped the... We've stopped the radio side of things with the...
Do you want
YouTube.
to continue on the camera?
Not at the moment. No, I have to do a bit of fussing with this.